All right, welcome back to another episode of Ask a Clutter Boss. I am Jess Marcy. I'm your Clutter Boss for today, answering your questions that have come in this week for today's episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Helps us out, of course. Let's dive right into our questions. Question number one: what is a drop zone? This is a very good question. Oh, and we have a question coming in the comments as well. Excellent. We'll get to that in a second. What is a drop zone? A drop zone is a space in your house where you tend to drop things. So you walk through the door, you put your purse down, you put your keys down, you put your grocery bags down, you put whatever you're carrying down in that one spot. Or a drop zone could be where you do laundry and the laundry just stays there, doesn't actually move to, where it needs to go. Drop zones are places that things get dropped. It's totally normal and okay to have drop zones in your house. The problem is when a drop zone becomes a stay zone, when stuff just hangs out there and never gets put away. Kitchen islands covered in mail, right? That's a stay zone. Started as a drop zone, and then nothing happened to the clutter that was there, so it stayed there, and it is a stay zone. So we want to work to turn our stay zones back into drop zones, get into the habit every day of picking up the spaces where things tend to get dropped. Keep them drop zones. Don't let them turn into stay zones. Julie says her kitchen table is her biggest drop zone. Yep, that's a very common one. It also helps to think about the function of the spot that is the drop zone. So kitchen tables, for example, should be used for eating, maybe occasionally working. But if the space can't function as it's intended to, you know that your drop zone has turned into a stay zone, and probably anyway, right? All right, question in the comments here. How do we help our grown kids to part with their extraneous possessions? I want to offer support and not judgment. So I love that you are coming from a point of support and not judgment. My question back to you is: are your children still living at home, or is their stuff living in your home, but they have their own homes? So I'll give you a second to answer that question and then circle back here. In the meantime, oh, and this is kind of a relatable question here. I have several of my daughter's collectible dolls. She doesn't want them, but many have been sitting out collecting dust. Would I need to wash their hair before donating, or would donation places take care of them? I kind of think they would not appreciate getting them with dusty hair. Okay, this is a good question. And I want us to think about what happens when we release items into somebody else's care. When we donate stuff, it is really nice to think that our things are of equal importance to the person that we're donating it to. They're going to take great care of it. The person who finds it is going to take great care of it. But the reality, and this is just cold, hard truth, okay? The reality of the situation is that we have more stuff in this world than people. We have households full of things. If you have collectible dolls and you want them to be taken care of, you might want to see first if they're worth anything to anyone else. They might be, they might not be. But if you're releasing them, if you're letting go of them, if you're donating them or whatever you're doing with them, once they leave your possession, it is completely out of your control what happens. And that's okay. The dolls served their purpose in your life. I wonder if you're listening to this and you submitted this question. Did your daughter play with the dolls when she was a child? Did she enjoy them? That was the purpose of these dolls in your life. And that purpose is now done, right? So, and that's great because it means that she has moved on and transitioned through different phases of life to become an adult. Letting go of the dolls is not letting go of your daughter's childhood. It's not letting go of the memories. It's simply letting go of something that was useful and now has become clutter. So commit to letting it go with love and gratitude for how it served your life, but with no expectations for what's going to happen to it after you let it go, because we can't control, no matter what, we cannot control what happens to things. Even if we give them to somebody who we think is going to take excellent care of them, they may and they may not. That is completely out of our control. So, a lot of the decluttering process is recognizing what we can control and what we can't control, and being at peace with the decisions that we make and letting go of the control that we do not and will never have. So that was a great question. Thank you for that one. Okay, circling back. Um, so the question was, how do we help our grown kids to part with their extraneous possessions? I want to offer support and not judgment. And I asked a follow up question: are your children living at home or is their stuff living at home? And they have their own home. We store a chest of memorabilia at our house. So you want to decide in your own home, when your children are no longer living there, how much space you want to devote to memorabilia. If it is not your memorabilia, then I would say just give your kids a timeline to decide if they want to keep it. And if they want to keep it, it goes to their house. It's not your stuff, it's their stuff. Um, these can be difficult conversations to have, but if they want to keep it, but they don't want to actually take care of it, then that's kind of a bigger discussion. Like, how important is this to you truly if you don't want to take care of it, if you want somebody else to take care of it? These are difficult conversations, but they're really good ones to have because as we age, it's more important than ever to talk about stuff, possessions, what is important to us, what we want to take care of, and what's not, and just kind of start that conversation. So I think that you can do this in a way that is supportive, um, and realistic. You know, you're not a storage facility for your children's stuff. It is not unreasonable for you to want their things out of your house so that you can have your space. That's not an unreasonable ask. It is unreasonable for them to think that you're going to care for their things indefinitely if it's not even important enough to them to bring it into their home. If space is an issue, you could always take pictures of what is important to them or what they say is important to them and make them a book. Give them the book of the pictures of their memorabilia from childhood as a gift. Then you can let go of the stuff. Remember, stuff is not memories. We cannot declutter memories. We can only let go of things. It's not the same as letting go of a memory. Taking a picture and making a book is a great way to memorialize these items without having them take up so much space. Okay, next question. How can I overcome the emotional attachment to my belongings? I don't use it, but I can't part with it. So, one way that we can start to overcome this attachment is to change your identity. So, this question, I don't use it, but I can't part with it. There's a lot of identity in there. Can you think of yourself as somebody who only holds on to things that are actually useful in your life and supporting your life? Can you start to shift your mindset around, I can't part with it? I hear often people tell me, I can't let go of anything. And that's not true. We all let go of stuff all the time. We throw things into the trash, we decline offers, we let go of self limiting beliefs, we let go of things nonstop. If you start to think of yourself as somebody who only keeps what is truly important to you and has a very curated collection of the most important things, you can start to let go of some of the overwhelming sentimental attachment to quote unquote everything. I think it starts with how we think of ourselves, and then always start letting go of easy stuff, the stuff that you're not attached to. Get used to letting go of easy stuff, and then the harder stuff, the more sentimental things, do become easier. Is it better to sell, donate, or throw away things? Okay, this question is it's a good question and there's not a good answer for it. It really depends on so many different factors. I think when you're letting go of stuff, you want to find the easiest path forward. In the end, everything ends up in a landfill. Like, that is the cold, hard truth. Everything we own is going to end up in a landfill one day. And I know that we were raised to believe that landfills are these evil places, but they're actually not. Um, if stuff is landfilled in the United States, it's dealt with in a very environmentally friendly way. Landfills are managed with very high standards, unlike recycling, which could go anywhere around the world and be treated in many different ways. So landfills are not the horrible things that we tend to think of them as. And the reality is everything goes into a landfill one day. It's great if you have a good option that is not a landfill to extend the life of something. But we have to be realistic about those options. Number one, around the country, there are the your donation situation is vastly different from one city to another. Um, Recycling situation is vastly different across the country, even from town to town. Your town might have a recycling program that is great, and the next town over might not. It's impossible to say if it's best to recycle, trash, or donate. It really depends on your stuff. If you are going to donate something, make sure that it is something that many people would like to have. If it is an item that is very common and not in very good condition, it's going to be tossed in the trash at the donation center. So just think about these things before you go through the trouble of donating. Is this really something? Is it in great condition and many people will want it? Because if not, donation centers throw away up to 90% of what is donated. I mean, it's just we have too much stuff in this world. Our stuff is no more significant than anyone else's stuff to anyone else but us. So just kind of ask yourself these questions, and especially in the beginning of the decluttering process, let go the easiest way possible. I have an insanely busy schedule. How can I find time to declutter? Okay, so if you have a busy schedule, and you have something that's a priority for you, it's a goal for you, it's something that you have to do or want to do, or it's way on the top of your list, you have to actually plan to do that. You have to make it a priority in your schedule, not just say it's a priority, but priorities are not priorities unless you're actually working on them. They're just dreams or hopes. So we want to make if decluttering is a priority, you know it's going to save you time, then go ahead and prioritize that in your schedule. Do it first, not last. Make it the number one thing you do, not the last thing you do. I think it's fair to say that we all have busy schedules, and how we prioritize what we do with our time, that's what makes all the difference. If you want to find extra time in your schedule, open up your phone and look at your screen time. I guarantee there is 15, 20, 30 tons of time that you're spending looking at your screen when you could just be taking a small action. We're not talking about hours every day. We're talking about 10 minutes. I guarantee your screen time is higher than 10 minutes. Um, it's probably, if you're like me, shockingly high. Anytime I want to find extra time in my schedule, I take a reality check and look at my screen time, and I'm able to find the couple of minutes that I need on a daily basis to accomplish the things that I say are a priority. Um, Karen, I really appreciate your honesty about donations. Much of it does get thrown in the trash. We should not feel guilty by doing this ourselves. We absolutely should not feel guilty about doing this ourselves. And I think a lot of the reason that we feel so guilty about throwing things into the trash is because we were sold this idea by the plastics industry that we are somehow responsible for saving the environment all on our own and we must recycle. That whole recycling campaign was because plastics manufacturers did not want to be responsible. They did not want to take corporate responsibility for the items that they're producing. They wanted to produce them and then sell them, and then that's it. They didn't want to be responsible for the disposal or recycling of them. So they had this whole campaign to tell us that it's our job. We should embrace recycling. Recycling, in theory, is fantastic. In practice, it's been a disaster, except for with metals. We talk about this a lot. Um, I hope it changes in the future, but we live in a world where, I mean, if we're hanging on to stuff because we don't want to throw it out and it's just going to get thrown out when we donate it or recycle it or whatever, we need to stop fooling ourselves. Um, all right. And to the person who is spamming me right now, please leave. Um, okay, that's all for today's Ask a Clutter Boss. It's been so nice spending this time with you. And if you have a question for next week, please make sure you post it, submit it to um, support at prioritizeyoursanity.com, and we will answer it live next week, same time, same place. Bye for now.